Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy MKS here, back with part 2 of my plans to make a town football and Celtic as close to world class as possible, or as world class as possible, or as good as possible. The reason why I decided to make this partly because Celtic was playing today, well technically yesterday, because I'm behind schedule, so I did want to do it on Wednesday, and also due to my alliterations like world class Wednesdays. By the way, in the last video I forgot to say Happy New Month, but get off to the best start. But I often think like I get the worst out of the way on the first day, so I don't expect too much. But yeah, one bad habit I have, you can probably tell in my videos, is I have too much tea, and also quite late at night. I think some people say you shouldn't have tea after like 3 o'clock or something like that, which sounds very early to me. But even like midnight tea and stuff like that, so that's a bad habit of mine. I did actually manage to have 1 glass of water, but I'm trying to do my best to improve. Like in the past, I thought for each glass of water, for each mug of tea I want to have 3 glasses of water. Most days, some days I don't have water, like cheat days if you like, but generally speaking, to have more water I probably need, really, because apparently water helps you to lose weight. You probably can't tell, by the way, like how I'm sitting or whatever, but you can't see. I put on quite a lot of podge, even my mum tells me. But anyway, I think most people tell me, but some are too polite to say probably. But anyway, Happy New Month all the same. So hopefully November goes well. Be good if there was a truce in the Israel-Palestine conflict. On that note, before I start my list, I'll say a lot of Celtic actually banned. They told the fans not to use Palestine or wave Palestine flags or have anything to do with Palestine, like in the ground. I think they said they want to remain neutral, as some clubs have been like telling their fans not to do, and they banned the Green Brigade, which does a lot of political stuff. One fan was saying on this regard, he agrees with the Green Brigade, but sometimes the Green Brigade goes too far, and some of the things are not worth condoning, or something like that. Words to that effect, anyway. When they asked some of the fans, but I think it would be good to work towards peace and neutrality. So I think there was one Italian politician actually who went spoke against Israel, but I think somehow we should try and find a way to. If we take sides, I don't think it's going to help innocent people or general citizens of either Palestine or Israel. Really, I think we should try and find a way to talk about how we can make peace. Maybe boycott some of the companies who are funding wars, or find a legal way to put pressure on the government to stop sending arms to everyone, really, not just Israel. Like, I don't want to pick on one particular country, but I'm going a bit off topic. But football and politics, some people say like sport shouldn't mix with football, but I think, with their politics, but I think it always kind of has done. But anyway, yeah, there was a few points. I don't know if I was I don't know if it was because I was nervous or because I just generally have a poor short-term memory, blame the dyslexia as I normally do, or dyspraxia, or whatever, which I normally do. But anyway, I'm going to stop waffling, and I just thought as a side note, it's a difficult one, but I think it would be good to sort of say we want to see a peaceful solution. And I mean, I don't like breaking the law, otherwise I would go and smash up all the, go and destroy all the weapons infrastructure. Then I suppose it would be harder to have conflict, and certainly conflict that wouldn't injure so many civilians. You'd probably have to go back into the old days, the good or the bad old days, depending on how you look at it, and they'd have to have close armed combat or something like that. But anyway, I'm going to crack on with get back to the football and talk about some of my dreams, as I say, as Celtic were playing technically yesterday. By the time I wanted to make the video, it took me a while. I was like an hour behind schedule, but probably even more than that, 1.5 hours or so. Anyway, here goes. So number 11, I'd love to hear from fans, like what ideas you have, like Italian football fans, what you think Italian football could do to change. And also Celtic, I know I'm killing 2 birds with 1 stone here as a fan of both Italian football and Celtic, and how I'd love for them to work together. But what would you like to see Celtic change? What direction do you think the club should go in? What do you think they could do differently? Or what general direction would you like them to go into? Like, how do you think the club could fundraise more? What do you think it should change? What do you think is doing well and should keep the same? And again, what direction do you think the club should just go into generally? Again, Italian clubs or Celtic. And just to reiterate what that's a big word for me. What I said in part one, I would love to, as I connect with my fellow Italian football fans and Celtic fans, sometimes even together, maybe as I want to bring Italian football and Celtic to have a better relation together, and again improve relations with Italians and the rest of the world as well, and encourage people from Celtic countries as well as POC people of colour, or even non-WASPs, non-white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, to support Celtic. Anyone who's not a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, or anyone who is not a fan of Empire, especially British Empire. I know it's a bit contradictory being an Italian football fan as well. Anyway, I'm going to move on. But yeah, what would you like to see changed in Italian football and or Celtic respectively? What direction do you think Italian football and or Celtic should go in? And in Italy's case, both in the club team level and in Serie A, or just general football as well, at grassroots level. Anyway, moving on, as I say, number 12, one of the things I was thinking of is I'd love to ask, is also another question I'd love to ask fans of Italian football, Serie A, and I suppose even the national team, perhaps in Italy's case, is who would you like to see manage and coach in Serie A, and also who would you like to come and play in Serie A? Who would you like to be the manager of the national team? Do you think Spalletti is the right man, or would you like to see someone else? Again, in the future, if I do manage to have Zoom group chats or even individual one-to-one chats with Italian football fans, I'd love to ask those sorts of questions and see what people think. I think the group ones would be even better. We could discuss what ideas we have and hopefully sometimes agree to disagree, but look at what we can do to benefit. Me personally, I love to do anything, pretty much anything, within the rules, within the law, to benefit Italian football, as long as it doesn't hurt anyone. But again, bring in investment and things like that. But yeah, I'd love to know who you think should, who you would like to see manage, coach, play, and whatnot. What sort of scouts would you like to see, and just generally what direction or what sort of action do you think Italian teams should do? What do you think Italian football doesn't do so well and should change? And what do you think it does do well and should keep doing? And I suppose a similar question for Celtic fans, like, do you think Brendan Rodgers is the right man? A few scary results, a draw last time. As I said in part one, I forgot Celtic were playing. I'm not a very good fan, am I? But I was going to say rather sarcastically, I'm a good fan, aren't I? But when I saw the score, we were losing 1-0 to St Mirren, and I was a bit concerned. And I was watching it on a Celtic YouTube channel called Kazakian or something like that. Spelled with a C, Cazakin or something like that. And it got me thinking as well about how I'd love to see that channel, however you pronounce it, Kazakian or whatever they're called, Axon, the Celtic State of Mind, and other Celtic-related channels, maybe even the official Celtic channel, and maybe even like Serie A fans, and also even the Serie A official channel, or the people who run Serie A, and also the people who run Celtic, like working together on Zoom, like having discussions. So maybe that could be another way for the for Italian clubs and the national team as well, and for Celtic to connect with the fans respectively. But yeah, it's a bit of a dilemma because I was thinking I'd love to see the best possible players play, as well as managers managing and coaches coaching. I'd love to see the best possible players play in Serie A, and also I thought also like football directors, sporting directors, and scouts as well. I think they're important to bring in the best possible players, people who know about football. But as a fan of both Italian football teams and Celtic, it's a bit of a dilemma because I'd love to see those players, I'd love to see those managers, coaches, and players come to and scouts and whatever come to Italian football, come to Serie A before they get too old, like while they're still good. So people are saying Haaland said, I think Haaland's dad, said that he wanted to play in Serie A one day, but people are saying it'll probably be when he's just about to retire. But I hope he'll come to Serie A before he gets too old. People like Mbappe, Haaland, and players like that. Like part of me would like to see them at AC Milan, and part of me would like to see them at Roma, or any Italian team really. As a big fan of Italian football, I think it'd be interesting if or even Juventus or a team like that. Although I'd love to see Italian teams develop more younger players as well. But yeah, it is a bit of a dilemma because I'd love to see them a bit of Celtic as well, and also before they get too old. So I'd love to see them go to Italy and play in Italy, and then just before while they're still good players, but possibly coming towards the end a little bit, like when they get to about 30 maybe, or maybe a bit younger than that, 28, 29 or 30 or something like that, 31 or whatever at the most, then they could go to Celtic from Italian teams. So as Italian teams play at like a higher level. So anyway, moving on. Number 13, I'm a bit wary about whether people like these videos, but again, I'd love to know what people think of some of the negative things. I normally think of a negative for number 13. So what do people think of some negative things about Italian football and or Celtic? Number 14, but also I'd love to hear more about the positives and solutions to some of the challenges facing Italian teams and Celtic. Number 15, I did mention when I did reactions to when Italy played against England in the Euros qualifiers, England qualified and beat Italy 3-1, and I was thinking it's a bit worrying to think, although Spalletti's just come in, I do worry whether he's the right man, although I might be having a knee-jerk reaction. But similar with Brendan Rodgers, I do worry whether he's the right man at the moment because the results aren't looking that great, although we're still ahead in the league. But I'd love to know what other Italian fans and Celtic fans think, respectively, of those issues. But I worry whether Italy can develop those young players quick enough. Like even if Italy does develop young players, is it going to take 5 or 10 years or even more for Italy, if the world's still around in that time, for Italy to do that well? As I partly jokingly say, I'd love to see the world last long enough for Italian teams and Celtic to dominate, to improve and stuff like that, especially the Italian national team and club teams in Europe. And number 16, as ever, I'd love to hear what people think, any ideas people have, generally speaking, of what Italian football teams, club or country level, and Celtic itself can do to improve. I'd love to see like committees or think tanks. Again, maybe on Zoom, it could be a way for both the national team, for the Italian national team, the FIGC, the Azzurri, and the fans of the national team, and also club teams. And Celtic, respectively, how they could connect with the fans, so they could talk to the fans about what fans think could be done to improve. Although some might say too many voices, like it'd be hard to know which direction, like which ones to follow. But maybe maybe Italian football and Celtic could try different, like trial and error. But basically, I'd love to know what are the best ways to benefit Italian football team at club and country level, and also Celtic. Number 17, using my neurodiverse imagination. I did want to, in October on that note, go with dyslexics to Italy and showcase what we could do. Fortunately, I didn't manage to do that or any of my other plans, as I tried to take on too much, perhaps, I suppose, or wasn't able to articulate effectively what I wanted to do. But I'd love for, in November, for neurodiverse people to showcase what we could do for Italian football and Celtic, respectively, and also, again, a bit behind schedule, but what black people could do for Italian football and Celtic, and how relations could be improved with Italian football and Celtic, with Italian football and the black community through football, and the migrants, how they could be welcomed and included. So, like I said before, like how they could build pitches and also play football, and how Italy could develop those new players. Some of the migrants might be good players for the future, and just like France benefited, and even Brazil, which is racially diverse, ethnically diverse, and maybe Italy could benefit from having more players. I think from a football point of view, having migration is 100% of a benefit, as long as the managing and coaching staff pick the best players and not like have quotas, like no room for nepotism. They'd have to pick, I think, the players who are the best for the job, whatever their background, and many of them might be players from Africa and whatnot. And I'd love to see Celtic recruit players from all over the world, and like have good scouting teams which can look at what players can benefit the club. I hope the club won't be too stingy. I know that some people say Peter Lowell, as people call him, Peter paid well. Hopefully he can prove people wrong and show that we can spend the money to do better. Although people I think will rightly say that Celtic are far away from being a world class. But a lot of Celtic fans say for Celtic to do better in Europe, they need to go out and spend more money to compete in Europe at all, especially at the Champions League level. I'd love to see Celtic win. It's a bit of a dilemma because I'd love to see Italian teams do well in Europe, but one day I'd love to see Celtic win the Conference League and even the Europa League, even the Champions League and the Super Cup and the World Club Cup and things like that. That'd be pretty amazing to see Celtic win the World Club Cup. A long way off, but maybe in the next 5 or 10 years, hopefully. Pretty cool, but I'd also love to see Italian teams, as they do well in Europe and internationally. Number 18, again, hopefully Italian football and Celtic can form good relations with different nations around the world, the BRICS, Arab nations and whatnot. Who knows, maybe the BRICS could be like the new superpower. They could be, as countries de-dollarize, it may well be that they will hold power, and I think they should have more say in the UN, things like that, and be able to avoid sanctions. That's the word. Although I do think they should also avoid war and help each other to avoid war. Going back to the politics, I know, but I think Italian football and Celtic should stand for peace. I'd love to see Italy and other Mediterranean nations stand for peace and look at how maybe they can facilitate peace in the Middle East and all over the world and be military neutral. As a side note, I'd love to see Turkey and other Eurasian nations be military neutral as well. But anyway, I know this video's dragged on a bit, so I'm going to move on. Number 19, I think, as I often say, it'd be cool to see the club. I know Celtic does a lot for charity anyway, but I'd love to see Italian football do more for charity, which could be good for PR. If you see the EPL, the English Premier League, they do a lot for charity, and it could be carrot and stick approach, but it benefits the EPL. So maybe Italian football could learn a thing or two again from the EPL and others. And number 20, I hope that both Italian football and Celtic practices together, especially at youth level, and develops more younger players, and again has places and spaces for playing and practicing football, and also improving diets. But yeah, I'd love to know what you think. And again, if you're interested in the Zoom thing, please let me know. Please drop me a comment or whatever to let me know you're interested. And I hope we can bring together fans of Serie A, fans of Italian football, Calcio, and stroke fans of Celtic. Sometimes even both together, like Italian football team and Celtic as well. Italian football fans and Celtic as well. Anyway, I am out. Peace and love.